always believed that Valentine's Day was a day for love and joy. I was in a relationship with my college sweetheart, Sarah, and I thought I knew everything about her. Little did I know that this year would turn into a nightmare. On the morning of February 14th, I woke up to a beautiful bouquet of roses on my bedside table. Attached was a note from Sarah that read, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Love you." My heart swelled with happiness. We had planned a romantic dinner at our favorite restaurant, and I couldn't wait to surprise her with a special gift of my own. As the day went on, I noticed something strange. Sarah was unusually quiet, and when I asked her what was wrong, she brushed it off with a smile. I tried not to think too much about it as I prepared for our evening together. When I arrived at the restaurant, I found Sarah sitting at our usual table, looking stunning as always. We exchanged gifts. She gave me a beautiful watch while I presented her with a locket containing pictures of us together. She seemed pleased, but there was something in her eyes that unsettled me. After dinner, we decided to take a walk through the park. It was a crisp night, and the moonlight illuminated the path ahead. Suddenly, Sarah stopped and pulled me aside, her face pale. "There's something I need to tell you," she said, her voice trembling. Before she could continue, a figure emerged from the shadows. A man I recognized from campus. He had been stalking Sarah for weeks, leaving her unsettling messages. Panic surged through me as he approached us with a twisted smile. "I see you found someone new," he sneered at Sarah. "But don't worry, I'll always be here for you." In that moment, everything spiraled out of control. The man lunged at me, but I managed to push him away. Sarah screamed and chaos erupted in the park. I grabbed her hand, and we ran, but the man was relentless. We finally made it to my car and drove away, hearts racing. But as we reached my apartment, I noticed something horrifying. The locket I had given Sarah was gone. In its place was a small note tucked into the passenger seat, that reading, "You can't escape me." That night, as I lay awake in bed, I realized that love could quickly turn into horror. Sarah and I never spoke of that night again, but the fear lingered in the air between us like an uninvited guest. I had been looking forward to Valentine's Day for months. My boyfriend, Jake, had promised me a surprise date that would be unforgettable. As the day approached, my excitement grew until it was almost unbearable. On February 14th, Jake picked me up in his car, blindfolding me before we left my house. "Trust me," he said with a grin. I felt a mix of thrill and anxiety as we drove through the winding roads of our small town in Oregon. After what felt like an eternity, Jake finally stopped the car and helped me out. He removed the blindfold to reveal a secluded cabin nestled deep in the woods. The place looked charming with fairy lights strung around it, and a warm glow emanating from inside. "Surprise!" he exclaimed, leading me inside where a cozy fire crackled in the fireplace. The atmosphere was perfect, until it wasn't. As we settled in for dinner, I noticed something odd about Jake's demeanor. He seemed distracted, constantly checking his phone. When I asked him about it, he brushed it off, claiming it was just work. Then came the knock at the door. Jake's face went pale as he exchanged glances with me before slowly approaching the door. "Stay here," he whispered. My heart raced as he opened it slightly to reveal a figure cloaked in darkness. "Jake," a voice hissed from outside. "You can't hide from me." I felt my stomach drop as Jake's expression shifted from surprise to fear. He slammed the door shut and turned to me with wide eyes. "We need to leave." "Now!" Before we could make it to the car, the figure burst through the door with an unsettling grin plastered across his face. It was an old friend of Jake's. Someone who had become obsessed with him after their friendship soured. What followed was chaos. The man lunged at Jake while I screamed and tried to pull him away. We fought desperately until finally managing to escape into the woods. We ran blindly through the darkness until we stumbled upon a road where we flagged down a passing car. As we drove away from that cabin, I couldn't shake the feeling that love could sometimes lead you into terrifying situations. Valentine's Day had always been a struggle for me. After all, who wants to be single on such a romantic occasion? This year felt different, though. Something about it ignited hope within me. Little did I know that hope would soon turn into dread. I received an anonymous note slipped under my dorm room door on February 13th. It read, "I've watched you from afar and admire your strength and beauty. Meet me at the old oak tree by the lake tomorrow at sunset." My heart raced with excitement and fear simultaneously. Curiosity got the better of me, so I decided to go. As I approached the oak tree on Valentine's Day evening, my heart pounded in anticipation. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting eerie shadows across the ground. At first, there was no one there, but then I heard footsteps crunching through the leaves behind me. Turning around, I saw a figure emerging from the shadows, a man wearing a mask. "Who are you?" I demanded, backing away slowly. He stepped closer and removed his mask to reveal a familiar face. Mark, a guy from my class who had always seemed harmless, but had an unsettling obsession with me. "I've been waiting for this moment," he said softly. Before I could scream or run away, he grabbed my wrist tightly and pulled me closer. "You don't understand how long I've wanted you," he whispered. Panic surged through me as I fought against his grip, desperately trying to break free. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from my best friend asking where I was. "Help," I shouted into the darkness as Mark tightened his hold. Suddenly, headlights appeared on the road nearby. It was my friend. Mark glanced nervously toward the light and released his grip just enough for me to slip away and run toward safety. As we sped away from that lake, my heart raced not just from fear but from realizing how easily love could twist into obsession, and how close I had come to becoming another victim of someone's delusion. February 14th had arrived, and my husband Mark insisted on hosting an intimate dinner party for our closest friends to celebrate love in all its forms. At first, I thought it was sweet. However, as preparations began, an uneasy feeling settled in my stomach. Our friends arrived promptly at 7 o'clock. Sarah and Tom from next door and Lisa and Ben from across town. We laughed and shared stories over wine while Mark prepared dinner in the kitchen. As the night wore on and dishes piled up in front of us, Mark seemed increasingly distant. He would disappear into the kitchen for long stretches of time while we tried to entertain ourselves without him. Finally, after what felt like hours of waiting for dinner to be served, Mark rejoined us with an unsettling look on his face. "I have something special planned for tonight," he announced cryptically. Before anyone could respond, he revealed a large box wrapped in red paper and tied with a black ribbon, a gift for our guests. As he opened it slowly, an icy chill filled the room when we realized it contained disturbing items, bloody utensils and photographs of previous dinner parties gone wrong. "What is this?" Lisa gasped as she recoiled in horror. Mark's smile twisted into something dark as he explained that this was his way of showing how quickly love could turn into something sinister if not cherished properly. Suddenly feeling trapped in our own home, I glanced around at my friends' terrified expressions while Mark continued his unsettling monologue about love turning toxic over time. Just then, there was a loud crash outside. A window shattered. We all jumped up in panic as Mark rushed toward the door while I grabbed my phone to call for help. When police arrived moments later after someone reported suspicious activity outside our home, they found Mark standing over an unconscious figure lying on our porch. The neighbor's ex-boyfriend, who had been stalking Sarah. The horror didn't end there. As they led Mark away in handcuffs, I realized that sometimes those closest to you can hide their darkest secrets behind smiles and romantic gestures, leaving you questioning everything you thought you knew about love. Last Valentine's Day marked exactly 1 year since my girlfriend Emily passed away tragically in a car accident on her way home from work. Grieving her loss felt unbearable every single day. However, February 14th hit differently. It left me feeling haunted by memories of our time together. Determined not to let sorrow consume me entirely this year, I decided to visit our favorite spot, a secluded overlook overlooking Lake Tahoe, where we spent countless evenings stargazing hand in hand. As dusk fell over the lake on February 14th this year, I sat alone reminiscing about Emily when suddenly I felt an icy breeze wash over me despite being warm outside moments earlier. Then came soft whispers carried by wind, words only meant for those who truly listened closely. "I'm still here, don't forget me." Panic gripped me as chills ran down my spine. I quickly dismissed it as imagination running wild. Due to grief, and faint laughter echoed around me like echoes from another world. I turned around only to find myself alone once again. The moonlight set eerie shadows across street cast surrounding me. Somehow feeling, by unseen I was looking near big hours passed before finally deciding enough was enough. Suddenly something caught my eye. The answering light caught my eye. A flickering light dancing among trees further down near water's edge. Curiosity piqued despite fear gripping tight. I followed cautiously until reaching its source. A small lantern placed delicately atop an old wooden bench engraved with Emily's name. Confusion washed over me as memories flooded back. The last time we were here together celebrating Valentine's Day under stars just before tragedy struck. My heart raced wildly while emotions swirled around like stormy winds to consume everything. Suddenly, whispers returned louder than ever, filling air around Meg. "You must choose live without regret or join me forever." Terrified yet drawn closer, I felt compelled toward lantern glowing brighter now, illuminating words etched beneath. "Love never dies." In that moment, clarity dawned upon realization. Emily would want nothing more than for me to embrace life fully even without her beside me. With tears streaming down my face, I finally found peace within heart. True love transcends even death itself. As dawn broke over horizon illuminating lake, I walked in knowing love remains eternal despite loss, making this Valentine's Day truly unforgettable. Thank you for joining us for today's spine-chilling episode. We hope you enjoyed these haunting tales and found them as captivating as we did. If you liked what you saw, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more eerie stories. Stay tuned for our next adventure.